Hello and welcome to Sweet Truth. So we've got a little special episode today because we've got an extra special guest. Yes, so let's introduce our guests and we'll get to that. So we'll start at this end of the couch.
This is Pogo. What is he?
He's a miniature wire-haired dachshund.
No, I meant the job.
Oh, he's our business development manager.
That's the one. I'm Rachel and I'm the lead designer.
Fabulous.
I'm Jenna. I'm the content and communications lead at Yolk.
And I am our co-founder and I lead on curation and also events and writing. So a bit of everything.
Fabulous. So what is Yolk? That's the question that we all want to know.
Yeah.
So go on.
We are a culture marketing studio, and if you don't know what culture marketing means, that's okay, because it's a term that we made up.
Oh, right, okay.
So it grew from a point of when I was originally working in marketing and just realising that word is just ick, and it's deliberate and it's not effective and it's not creative anymore.
Right.
And so we have spent about 18 months working up Yolk and this method that we call culture marketing. And it's not marketing, basically. It's building a culture around something with creative industries processes.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
It's basically, if you want to market or PR your product, don't talk about it. That's kind of the way.
Don't talk about it.
That is basically the way.
So how does that work? Because really that's the opposite of what you would think.
I know, exactly. So we work on the basis of, if you have something like, let's say, an amazing coffee, right? And you want to sell it traditionally, you'd have been like, this is amazing. Best coffee, tastiest coffee, best beans. And we've kind of run out of hyperboles and like bests and biggests, and it's just boring and you don't believe it anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe our generation above us did, but we don't believe it anymore. So we're like, okay, we can't say best, biggest, most brilliant anymore.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is create a culture around that you really like. So say the coffee brand likes you as a customer. We're going to find out what you like. You might like gigs. You might like embroidery. You might like supper clubs. You might like reading about jazz music.
Yeah.
So we're going to craft stuff for you. And then you're going to be like, oh, the coffee company did that. Huh, okay. There's a bond.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how it works.
Okay, so so like interactive experiences, getting out there.
Exactly.
I think you're really going to have to help me out on this one because I am definitely a beginner on this.
Totally, that's okay, everyone is.
But is there like an example that you could give? Like, because I feel like maybe I've seen it in like shopping centres.
Yeah, totally. So we worked with Bumble for 12 months. And obviously Bumble started life as a dating app.
Right.
And then they moved into networking. And they have Bumble Biz. And then they also do Bumble BFF, which is the friend finding service.
Oh.
And they wanted to come into Manchester.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we're not just going to talk about what we are, frankly, because I just explained it in like 5 seconds and it's over. So they did 2 events with us per month in Manchester.
Oh,
and they were all paid for, so they were all free to attend. And it's anything from a tea making workshop to we did live yoga and live cello and DJ.
Oh.
To talks on creative diversity in the creative industries, through to how to learn how to write about food.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it just kind of gets you to get Bumble in a way that you wouldn't have maybe before.
Yeah, so taken away from the more conventional feel then of marketing. Yeah. So how do your other roles fit in then? So
Over to you guys. How do you work?
Well, we do the content in terms of the graphics and the content, so editorial.
Right.
So my background is publishing in magazines.
Oh, fab.
So in terms of that, we're looking at the magazine, which is Yolk Law, which is the sister to Yolk. And that is just one way of showing brands and consumers like how else we can bring their product, their brand to life. So on there, the content is very much about like mind nourishing things, like we've termed it like mental wealth before, and things that would make you feel good when you read them. Brain food. So not only do we have articles and features that come from myself and Daisy and other contributors, whether it be food, fashion, whether it be travel, we also have a section called Brain Food now, which is where you can find articles, find really cool things to listen to watch. And you're basically giving people access into things they haven't seen before. They might go, oh, I'm into this, and they see this article and it opens more channels and they end up down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So that's what me and Daisy do together. And then Rachel is the graphic designer.
Right.
So I do all the promotional material for the experiences and social media graphics for us and for clients if they need it, and like the website graphics and stuff like that. But the most of it is just spreading the word about the brands that we're representing and trying to big up the events that we do.
Do you think that works well with nowadays and how we look at things now? We said that, you know, maybe marketing is getting a bit boring now. We've heard it all before.
Yeah, and everything has to be visual. We see too much in the world, and if something isn't designed well, one, it doesn't have as much credibility, and two, you don't take any notice of it because there's just so much more that you can see, especially with Instagram and stuff.
Right.
Like if your post doesn't stand out and your content doesn't stand out, then it's just another thing that's selling something, and people are clever. They don't want that, especially not with social media.
Yeah.
Like you're on there in your spare time and you want it to be fun and like nourishing content. It's like when people are just selling stuff, it doesn't work.
So how did you come up with like this whole concept then? Because obviously this is an entirely new way of marketing and advertising. So how did it come about?
Well, I was working for a property developer, and they owned Spinning Fields.
Right.
They founded Spinning Fields, and they're working on 2 other really big projects in Manchester, Old Granada Studios and London Road Fire Station, which is just the most amazing building.
I have not seen it. Is it any worse?
Well, it's opposite Piccadilly.
Right.
It's about 100 years old, and it's been derelict for 30 years. And
Awesome.
it's beautiful, and like it was a community where firemen used to live with their families. So it was actually like an original work and play space.
Yeah.
So that's where they worked, and that's where they lived, and that's where they had bars, and their entire community existed within this building.
Fab.
It's really cool. And I was the head of PR, and my job was to get people to know about these spaces and to talk about them.
Okay.
And it wasn't necessarily connecting with people if it was just coming across in a magazine, if it was just PR. Because it's about, I think, getting a feeling. And you can't necessarily do that with a press release. You can't necessarily do that. You have to really experience it yourself.
Yeah.
I think if I tell you something, it's not really the same as if you experience it yourself.
Right.
And so we'd be telling people about future stuff, telling people about cool stuff, and then it just wasn't really the same. So I was like, okay, well, let's shake this up. Let's do really cool partnerships. We started with wallpaper, which was a pretty great partnership to work with. And we gave them an empty space in the fire station, and we were like, just do your worst. We kind of crafted a theme with them, which was we looked at the Shaker movement, because actually we found that there was some history in Manchester.
Yeah.
And they brought some amazing furniture in, and they made this space. Just totally like concept space. It's still actually there. It's not open to the public at the moment. Yeah. And we had drinks, music, like amazing singer, and it was just a different experience to which journalists then came to and got it. So I think our kind of, the way that I then looked at it was showing is better than telling.
Yeah.
And then from that, I continued to work at that company for about sort of 18 months, and then I wanted to create our own space where we could work for loads of different brands and help them show, not tell their stories.
Right. So how does that fit in terms of nowadays where we've got so many influencers online? We've got, you know, Kylie Jenner. I literally just finished watching the Fyre.
Oh my God,
I watched that the other day.
You guys have been talking
I was in shock.
It was very, very interesting. For those of you who don't know, it's about the Fyre Festival on Netflix. It's just like I wouldn't say an episode, but it's sort of like that. It's like
It's
a
sort
film.
of quite long documentary,
Yeah. And it's about how basically celebrity influencers basically, you know, they contributed towards, you know, the big hype of a festival that didn't happen really. But yeah, it basically shows like the impact of influencers. And obviously with what you're saying here, we want to be, you know, like seeing things rather than being told. And the whole influencer, you know, trend is completely against that really. What would you say? Is that something that really gets on your nerves?
Totally.
Or?
I mean, I'll let like the girls because these guys have watched this documentary and I haven't, but I just 100% we will only work with an influencer with a talent or a passion.
Right.
Because there's a whole murky water there, but B, I still think even if we're working with an influencer that has a talent or a passion, we think that more events should be opened up to the consumer.
Right.
And that you shouldn't just have to be experiencing an influencer at a really cool event through your phone. You should be able to go to it too.
Yeah.
Because everybody is a voice, everybody has the power of their social media, and so everybody now is of importance, and it shouldn't just be like events and cool stuff for people that have a following of like 10,000 plus, but like anybody can like make an impact on a brand. But you guys,
I think that documentary showed how surface level it is. Like it literally just showed what more do they offer than this idea of a dream that people have, which isn't reality, and the people that got there saw that. And it's like an influencer can say anything, but the event or the thing they're talking about might not follow through at all. Like we need to see it for ourselves. And if someone markets something and an influencer backs that up, that still is just that surface level. Like we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know how good it is.
Yeah, we just believe what we see these days. And like I think audiences are getting more analytical. Like I think they are questioning it more and more, but these kind of things just show that we believe these people without any evidence.
I think the Fyre Festival documentary actually was evidence of that as well, wasn't it? It's sort of like, because obviously we can't not acknowledge the fact that influencers create a massive impact and they do build a lot of brands, but there is that part of it where it's like sometimes these influencers aren't looking into the things that they're actually getting paid for.
Yeah, and what does it do to the everyday consumer or that don't have that many followers and that much money and
or the access to those sort of things? It's the unattainable is that so many consumers are after, but like Rachel was saying, like people are getting savvier. Like you can't keep playing this game. Like if Bella Hadid is like backing that, like that's going to see a hit in her reputation eventually, because you can't support a festival that isn't substance. Like people are having real experiences now, like we're saying, like actual people get to go to these cool events, these supper clubs, these panels, they get to go to them, so you're going to have some substance to the things that they're doing. And I think that just shone through that, like there's a crack in that influencer marketing idea that we've got. Like affiliates and influencers, like yes, they have a place and they're important and they're part of this narrative, but essentially there's like we're seeing through it now. It's becoming a lot more transparent.
Do you think like people are starting to question that idea of influencers now as well?
They want real things, don't they? So they, we're body positive now, we're not going on these diets all the time. Some people aren't doing dry January. Like it's real experiences, and I think the events that Yolk curates us are like that. They're reflecting what real people want. Even advertising falls into that slightly. Like people want to see real people on their feeds now. They don't want to see these airbrushed people. Like Jamila Jamil, she's showing that, like
she's fab,
she's amazing.
Yeah.
Like people like her, just they show that even they're real. So at one point, maybe 10 years ago, we would have thought, wow, she's so cool, but she's been really open and honest, and I think that's the way we're moving. So influencers, if they want to keep up and retain their like popularity, will have to do that as well.
I think word of mouth, ironically, is so powerful as well, because I've even seen like people commenting under like Kardashian posts, and obviously Kim Kardashian, I don't know whether you saw, she got a lot of backlash off, was it the lollipops?
The slim in the middle.
The diet, hunger suppressing lollipops. And now people are starting to hit back and they're like, we don't want this, and you've got enough money as it is. We don't want to see these things that you're pretending to have and then advertise online. So do you think that sort of coincides with your idea of what it is right now, and you need to experience it for yourself and know that this is what we're presenting to you rather than being told?
I mean, I think a brand is actually missing a trick as well, because you're only going so far. You're allowing an influencer to still be that middleman, and sometimes it does work. I mean, some influencers are brilliant and they are worth their weight in whatever you're paying them, but they're still that middleman, and we're like, why don't you just cut it out and just have that relationship direct? And I think the question thing is really important as well, because I think sometimes people put things on that they think their audience wants.
Right.
And we've just started this thing, in fact, great to get you guys to fill it out, called Yolk's Cultural Nosy, because we actually want to know, what do you want to see? Like, what do you want to go to? What do you want to do with your, 5 to 9, your weekends? Because what's the point in us kind of fashioning something that we think, or a brand or an influencer? Because I think often it ends up being the same. Like regurgitated stuff. And so, if a brand has an opportunity to actually speak to the people that they want to be selling to and be like, hey guys, what do you actually, what do you care about? What do you want to do?
And that's in line with what people want now as well. There's more customized stuff. People want like a better experience with things. So if they can be tailored to them, then that's perfect. I think people are more vocal about the things that they want now as well, which is really great, and obviously must benefit you massively.
Yeah.
But how do you tackle that idea of people maybe not going out as much anymore? You know, the next day delivery type like idea, and I'm really guilty of this.
Oh yeah, totally. And we found a study, Jenna and I, a VLAX study, that we spend 90% of our time indoors. And definitely at the moment, I'm probably like 98%.
Really? It's embarrassing, isn't it, to think of it?
100% hibernating. And yeah, this Grab Your Coat You've Pulled Manchester that we do, we actually found in January that there was just nothing happening at all. I mean, obviously we're in like a cold hibernating month.
Yeah.
But totally. And we made a massive effort this year actually to make sure that our understanding of experiences was outside but also inside, and that's why, as Jen mentioned, we pull stuff like cool books to read and really cool programs that you might not necessarily have heard about in like mainstream media, cool artists to listen to, cool like independent brands to shop from, all that you can do sat in the bath. Because, you know, I think that, I mean, I really love this magazine called Domino, which is an American interiors magazine. And for me, reading it from cover to cover is an experience. And you go through, and so the point that I'm trying to make is that an experience doesn't have to be at an event. I definitely think you can have an experience. I watched a Bollywood movie last night. It was an experience.
Oh, wow.
I tell you, I was inside my house in my pajamas, but it made me feel something.
And I love it because I think we're getting to a point where like even TV is looked down upon. It's like the whole wellness stuff, which I don't disregard at all. I think it's important, but it's like now I'm judging myself for watching 3 episodes of Netflix or something like that. And it's like, well, that is an experience and it is actually good for me.
Yeah.
So it's down to the individual, isn't it? So we're saying like, you can come to our site, you can look at our content, you can look at our Instagram, and we're saying it's fine if you want to stay indoors, here's what you can do. And then on the other side, we're like, but if you want to go outside, like here's what else you can do. And we also go and do the things that we put in our sort of guides and stuff. So if it's the fitness stuff, like I'm willing to try those out, I'm really into that. Like if it's the design stuff, like we'll often go to that, and you meet people and they're like, oh, I'm really glad this exists because I don't know where else to look.
Like events have really pulled us out of our shells. Like I like to stress it to people, like going out like even once a week has really helped me. Like I've met so many people, and it's like one event can get you so many more connections that you didn't have before, and you can go home feeling so uplifted than
but
like
if you want to
something you do inside.
Stay in the next night, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, I think that's what we're saying is like no shame, no judgment. Like, and that's what brands need to do is realise that we are a bit half and half, and to not criticise people for wanting to stay in and not being like, oh, you spent Friday night in. Like, it's fine. Like,
and there are like so many opportunities for brands to still capitalise on that as well. Like, and a really nice example is cooking. Right. So like you can partner with a really amazing chef and create a recipe or something, and you deliver that to your consumers, and that's such a nice gift that somebody can give. And that, you know, you might spend your Friday night in cooking that, but it's still something that's taking you out of your everyday and giving you an experience that you can talk about over a brew the next day. You know, it's like anything that makes you go, oh, I did this thing. And it might be making a fruit tart. I'm into them at the moment.
Really into them.
They're really easy to make. No, I got this new cookery book. I'm obsessed with.
Oh,
it's a one dish. You just whack it in the oven.
All fruit tarts.
It's all of it.
You might be wondering where this amazing place is. We're at the home of Dirty Disco, the online female-led vintage store focused on sustainability. Use code SWEET20 to bag yourself 20% off. Have you got any tips for any new brands or businesses then, like looking to stand out from all the others? Because obviously, we've spoken about this on so many episodes, but it's such a big thing. We have so many fast fashion brands. We've got so many really known brands, and sometimes people find it hard to stray from them brands.
Totally.
So how does a small business starting out, how do they stand out from them? What do you think?
The first thing I would say is do something that your industry wouldn't do.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a chef and your tendency would be to maybe have a supper club, don't. Do a photo shoot. You know, if you're in fashion and your tendency is to do, like, obviously shoot your products because you're proud of them and they're amazing and you want to talk about them, don't do that. I'm not saying don't do that. do it, but also do something else. You know, look at another creative industry. You know, maybe produce a film, maybe do a supper club. You know, maybe think about something, maybe produce a magazine. So it's kind of thinking about, I think even within the creative industry, it's just looking at what other industries are doing.
Yeah.
And you will find something that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of that is a way of speaking to your brand and making you like slightly different. Also physical stuff. If you have photographs and you're really proud of them, like print them off, put them in a magazine, send them in a post, anything physical.
Have a sense of humour as well. I think we're talking a lot about having fun, aren't we, at the moment? Like, have we forgotten how to have fun?
Yeah.
And we're going to do that a lot editorially, but like, I think we genuinely have sometimes. So like, whether it's your Instagram feed or like the content you produce or the images that you produce, like, have fun with it. Like, you know, I think we're very PC and we're quite scared to offend, rightly so, because, you know, it's very politicised now, any sort of media, and, you know, that's good and bad. It means we check ourselves, but you don't have to do it to the point that you've lost your sort of sense of fun, and that's okay. And I think that in itself is original, and also you're willing to book a trend, and willing to not go with this whole wave of like everybody has to be checked and you can only say it in a certain way, and how dare you say that. I think it's bolder, and I respect feeds, brands, businesses that are willing to take that risk, because, you know, a lot of the time it does pay off, as long as you're not doing it though to just get publicity. But for smaller brands, I think you can do that. I think that's better.
Yeah,
do you think we've always had this sort of embedded in advertising aspect anyway? You know, because fashion shows, do you think they're a bit of like an example of this type of marketing, or would you not say so?
Yes and no. Yes, definitely. I think they're an experience, and they're desirable, and they're coveted, and they are fabulous. So yes, but there has been a decline. I was reading an article about 2018 because people want value, and so yes, it's fabulous, and I think people will always adore them. But I still think that people want value, and so advertising, fashion shows, I think that yes, the opportunity is still there, but I think going a bit deeper with it, maybe, to making sure that everybody's leaving with something that doesn't make them feel FOMO, but makes them feel, yes, like inspired.
Right, okay, I see what you're saying.
I don't know how to articulate it, but I guess it's more like a positive emotion, leaving someone with an inspirational feeling, as opposed to like a, oh God, like, I didn't never look like that, and I didn't feel like I fit in, or, you know, I think it's maybe giving people value.
So we'll finish on like a little note. How do you feel the fashion industry, or just the industry in general, is going to move in the future? What are your hopes for that as well?
I think a bit like the way that Rihanna's moved with Fenty. Obviously, you may have probably already seen, but they're thinking of opening up her own fashion house in collaboration with some like massive designers. And I think that might be the way we're moving, these sort of personalities. So like, are we reaching the next level of influencer, and it's going back to the celebrity? And obviously with her last fashion show, she had women of all shapes and sizes, and we're seeing that a lot on the catwalk now as well. So maybe we're moving to that way because celebrities are being more genuine and honest.
Yeah, diversity as well.
Exactly. And wasn't there like one woman who was like heavily pregnant?
Yeah.
And then she went off and had her baby like minutes after the end of the show.
Yeah.
And that in itself is incredible and a brilliant read, because that is life. And I think that's what we're going to see in fashion in that respect. And brands is like, you're going to have to reflect the consumer.
Yeah.
And these celebrities are aware of that, and maybe it's their like agent is aware of it. But I do believe Rihanna and similar celebrities are they're going to be the people we're looking to again.
Right.
That's my take on it. I don't know what everyone else's is.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Right, well, we'll finish on that then. Cool. So, plug yourselves. It's Yolk. Is it Yolk HQ?
You just call it Yolk.
Yolk. Okay. Yolk, get on them. If you're going to market, well, what are we calling it? Cultural marketing. Cultural marketing, Yolk. This is the way forward. Thanks so much for coming. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
So therefore, I'm going to be 100 with you and tell you really what it was.
It just got real.